is just fantastic.
Hello everyone, welcome to the exhibition of stupid people. Today we're going to start with Stephen Bear. If you don't know who this is, I covered them in the Halls of Injustice on the 8th of March 2023. It'll be linked in the pinned comment with all the sources for today's video. Stephen Bear is a reality TV star. A very odd term I have to use, but that is what they are described as. They were last year sentenced to 22 months in prison. They were sentenced to 22 months in prison after filming and uploading footage of him having sex with Georgia Harrison. Georgia Harrison was a reality star from the TV show Love Island, and they were dating for a time. He uploaded the footage to his OnlyFans. She did not consent to this. He has spent the past 11 months of his 22-month sentence at HMP Brixton and was recently released halfway in because of good behaviour, because during his time he found religion, something which was seen on him upon his rather scruffy release because he was wearing beads and a cross. Obviously there are going to be consequences for this cretin. For example, his girlfriend dumped him, but he does have support of his relatives, many of whom took to social media to post supportive messages. He claims he is a changed man. I think you need to be reminded that this guy is such a loser that he kept getting airtime on various TV shows because of how he looked, how he spoke, like an idiot. And there is always a chance he will be allowed back on TV, when I think he should start collecting doll money. When it comes to those that commit crimes like what Stephen Bear committed, I don't care for good behaviour early release clauses. I do not believe you should be allowed to when you are essentially an SEX offender. I think the sentence should be completed from start to finish. I don't care if you find God. I don't care about your family support. I care that you knowingly, without permission, and made money off of uploading a video of you boning your ex to your OnlyFibro account without her permission. That is revenge PORN. And you tried to deny it, but the video is everywhere. On Stephen Bear's Twitter account, on the 4th of January 2024, I will be leaving Brixton Prison on the 17th of January. Can't wait to get my life back on track. Who's excited to see me? The two options for the poll, voted by 8,613 people, were I can't wait to see you and I'd rather watch paint dry, with I'd rather watch paint dry getting 81.6% of the votes, which for a bit of quick mathematics is 7,028.2 votes. Yes, it's a 0.2, you're welcome. With regards to my earlier comments about the early release, the Women's Aid charity that aims to end DV against women and children said, following today's news of the release of Stephen Bear only 11 months into his sentence, our thoughts are with Georgia Harrison and other survivors affected by image-based S.abuse crimes, like so-called revenge PORN. It's not so-called, it is straight up that. From our work with survivors, we know that violence against women not being taken seriously is one of the main reasons preventing many from reporting the crimes to the police. Seeing perpetrators being released from sentences early, in this instance serving under a year, also has an impact on women coming forward in the future. With trust in the criminal justice system already dangerously low, we need to ensure women feel both safe from that word and that they can see the justice system understanding the severity of the crime committed. I'm going to insert the obvious remark here that there are many instances that affect women, of course, and there are also many that affect men that are equally not taken seriously. Much needs to change, of course. I don't believe any government could ever actually impact the change though, because they're useless. So next we're going to insert Just Stop Oil and some consequences for a number of those who have finally appeared in court. For example, you have students that appeared at the Crucible Theatre last year in a match between Robert Milkins and Joe Perry, the World Snooker Championships, that was interrupted by a man called Edred Ilmari Heath Whittingham. Yes, he's middle class, hence all the unnecessary names that sound like locations. And Edred sounds like a rip-off of Thed and Son, who had a very different fate and deserved better. He appeared at the Sheffield Magistrates Court, charged with criminal damage, because as you can see from this picture, during the World Snooker Championship, he decided the green felt needs to be brighter, more vibrant. As if a Hoover won't correct this, but let's face it, it's going to take the umpire referee a fair amount of time to put all those balls back where they belong. I know my priorities are a bit skewed, but I do like snooker, and I'm going to be biased. It's interesting we mentioned this happening last year because Just Stop Oil's relevancy has dipped a considerable amount. They really don't get much in the way of traffic or coverage. Now, Edred was charged with criminal damage. Margaret Reed, a former museum professional, appeared at the same court charged with attempting to cause criminal damage. The only difference between Edred and Margaret is that Margaret was, well, prevented from performing the similar stunt on the other table in play because she was tackled by referee Olivier Martel. I'm hoping it was a gore like Rhino. Both have denied the charges against them, pled not guilty, even though it can be argued technically you have. Yes, Celebech. You were caught on video. This is broadcast on BBC's website. I was watching it. It was hilarious. The intermission was completely redundant. Joe Perry deserved better. They have both been granted unconditional bail by the District Judge Daniel Curtis until their trial, which will be on the 10th of May at the same court. Of course, if you want this to be a bit more sweet, you put a little divider in the middle of the room and you make sure everything's green. I don't mean eco, I mean painted green. Maybe have them sit on some oil drums with the words, "This is earmarked for asthma pumps." Of course, when it comes to the right to protest, I fully support it. I do not see the point in doing it to a snooker event though. It does not have the pull. It doesn't have the widespread attention beyond being seen on the BBC, and it was quickly pulled and given an intermission scene instead. So you really didn't accomplish much. But additionally, all you did, Margaret and Edred, was demonstrate just how middle class you two tosspots are. So middle class, you went after snooker. We had people go after rugby and cricket. You went after art. You're protesting in London thinking it speaks for the rest of the United Kingdom. I've seen the voter thing that shows that London votes very much one way and the rest of the country doesn't agree with it. It's like a typical US state where the cities, a lot of them control the rest of the state and think they can speak for it. That's why it's vitally important that all voices are heard regardless of location, which means yes, representation is key. For you morons, 2022 and 2023 marked a regurgitation of the same tactic over and over again, and you achieved nothing. The government haven't really answered your calls or demands for change, and I can promise you this, you know it as well, Labour won't either. They'll stick to their own version of a green plan that will take up to 3 decades. They'll at most get 1 decade in office and be voted out by another party that will then come in and say, oh, we've got another 3-decade plan, and we'll do nothing because their donors mean more to them than the planet does. You know this. Learn to play the game better, you losers. So I saw an article that cracked me up to no end, and I feel it only right because it's a bunch of Brits thinking that they're unique and special and oppressed in their own country, so they go to others to test the waters and really find out just how good they have it. A group of overweight Britons who signed up to travel the world in a quest to learn weight loss secrets were left upset by their experience in Tokyo, where people stared, pointed and laughed at them. The first episode is part of Channel 4's Around the World in 80 Ways, spelled W-E-I-G-H-S, which of course is a fantastic play on words. 6 contestants ventured to Japan, where only 4% of the population are obese, compared to my country where it's 25. It's okay though, America has, as is often the case, everyone beat. It's much higher there. In Japan, and I was discussing this on Twitch last night, there are many cultural practices and norms that do not float in Japan. Someone had pointed out, if your hair is blonde and you go to school there, you're made to dye it as it's considered an unnatural hair colour. The workforce is also very different. For example, workers are legally obliged to do a morning exercise session and have their waists measured by their employers. And with obesity being so uncommon in Japan, well, the contestants took to the roads and stood out like sore thumbs with chafed legs. Quote, "As we walked past all of the school kids, they pointed and laughed at us," said Tiffany, age 24, who admits she needs help to not eat crap all day every day. Continuing the quote, "I'm starting to feel a bit self-conscious as we're walking, everybody's staring. We hear often in the UK and in America and Canada that more needs to be done to protect those who are horizontally gifted, right? Often vertically challenged, but it's typically because of spinal compression, because gravity exists." Continuing the quote, "They're so open about being rude. Why would you point and laugh at another human being? It's just cruel. It just blows my mind that you're not allowed to be who you are and you just have to fit in. I don't feel like I should be here. In this country, I don't feel comfortable, and for me personally, it isn't somewhere I would come back." Oh, what a shame. I'm sure sales of whale that was researched, of course, went up while you were there, but now you're gone. I'm sure they're fine with it. They are, after all, used to earthquakes at this point. Now, crappy jokes aside, can you now say, like many others, that you are marginalised in the UK when you are given so many protections? When you are treated not with dignity, but with a level of English indifference? Because let's face it here, we Brits, and that includes Welsh and Scottish and Northern Irish, we don't really care about you or anyone else. It's when you tell us that we have to respect you. Never expect nor demand respect. And that's something in Japan that's quite common. You must earn it. Don't forget here, their culture is so rich, so vast. There are many issues with it, of course, but that's for them to deal with, not me. And I am certainly not going to police that. One, because that's effort, and two, because why the hell would I bother? You would think, while you're going to play the card of, I'm just being who I am. Perhaps you would listen to their perspective when they're pointing and laughing, because to commit to your size is a commitment to something quite pointless. There are others, of course, that can't maintain the weight lower because their body just doesn't metabolize. They don't work out enough. They have all the excuses, all the conditions as well. And some conditions can be actual legitimate reasons. Yours, based on that episode, is laziness and a willingness to consume more than your body can burn in a day. You walking through Tokyo and getting pointed and laughed at by kids, get used to it, because there are other countries that are going to be equally as intolerant or are going to think that you're dinner. I should insert a quick disclaimer. A number of the contestants on this show actually want to lose weight to have children or better their lives. Except for this one, who at the age of 24 believes you can be obese and healthy. Tiffany, you're deluded and you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm not sure if this is necessarily stupid what we're about to discuss, but perhaps it's something that the people we've just spoken about should consider. Twitch streamer Extra Emily spent 7 hours eating water with a fork. Achievement unlocked, I guess? The amount of water was a gallon. Twitch is quite popular for these random challenges, and in the past Extra Emily has actually done some, for example cooking steak in a car park, which led to accusations of cooking crack. She didn't do a very good job. But drinking a gallon of water with a fork is a unique challenge. And we have a clip of some of that.
Oh! Chad! I think our last final... It's our last final droplet!
Exem suck, exem clap,
Daddy,
finally.
Ready?
It took 7 hours to finish the challenge, in which she said, "Thank you, chat. Although it was gruesome and I thought I was going to give up, I'm so glad that chat believed in me. My shoulder may be sore, my mouth may be bleeding, the water might have been full of saliva and blood, but at last we still drank it with a fork." It should be pointed out that during the challenge, the viewers can actually decide other utensils to use to temporarily drink the water, like a string, toothpick, and her finger. Of all of them, I would pick the finger, because I can scoop a bit more with it, if that makes sense. Yeah? It's the U motion you can do with a finger. I guess it depends which one, actually. I think I'd rather the middle finger because of size, which in this instance matters. The last thing I want to talk about is a bit short, a bit of an honourable mention I guess, but it gives me a reason to flex a little. This pink guitar is the signature guitar for Machine Gun Kelly. As far as guitar goes, it doesn't actually look that bad, and one of the handy things about Schecter is they actually make equal number left-handed guitars and right-handed guitars. As a left-hander, I appreciate this. I'm not a fan of his music. I still think Eminem did a sufficiently skilled job battering from pillar to post by rapping in his own style, then Machine Gun Kelly's style, then back to his own style, then faster to prove how crap Machine Gun Kelly was. And then he tried to dab on Slipknot and they clowned on him too. I think he's a fraud, and anyone that works with him is a literal joke as well. You should be ashamed of yourselves for wanting to associate with such a fraud. But the guitar is nice. I like pink, I think it's a good colour. I don't see the point of a flip switch kill switch, it seems kind of redundant. A button is much easier to use. Recently, Schecter announced a brand new signature for Machine Gun Kelly, and they're getting clowned on for this one, because this one's even worse. This one looks like a Bohemian tin can oil guitar, but in the shape of a razor blade, which then looks like a rip-off of something you'd expect from Judas Priest. Again with one humbucker, again with the flippy kill switch, but the guitar looks so small and pointless, the entire point of the guitar is redundant. I know as pickups are becoming more digital, fluences are quite popular, the wood part is becoming a bit irrelevant because you can just mimic the sound. You don't need the wood for the resonance to create the sound, but this kind of guitar is a clown guitar. It looks pointless, a novelty, and Schecter have been clowned on rightly on their Instagram for posting this picture. This to me is a joke of an instrument. I wouldn't want to buy this, and I hope they don't do it left-handed. It's one of the very few times where I'd actually actively ask you, beg you Schecter, please don't give us this, because it looks worse than any signature I've ever seen, ever. And there have been some dodgy ones in my time. Machine Gun Kelly is a terrible guitar player anyway, so I really wouldn't want him to play something decent. But at the same time, as somebody who does own a Schecter, a Nick Johnston signature in pink with 3 single coils, I'd rather not have their name sullied further by some fraud guitar player who has to rely on vastly more talented guitar players who are known for Instagram to make his music sound more tolerable live. And I say more tolerable, not good. I can TED talk about this for at least half an hour. If you want to hear that, 1,000 likes and I'll make it.